Are we not the non-prophets? Are indeed we not Russell Glasser, Jeff D., and Denis Loubet coming to you live from the Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas on the 20th of December, 2017? Is this show not sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and the separation of church and state? If you wanted to know more about the ACA, would you not call their voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit their website at www.atheist-community.org? Is it not so that the Non-Prophets broadcast live every first and third Wednesday of each month from 7:30 to 9 Central Time? And is it not true that you can join the Non-Prophets chat room by following the directions at www.nonprofitsradio.com? If the answers to these questions is yes, I mean no. Wait, how do you answer questions phrased like that? Wait, yes would mean I agree it's not true? And no doesn't seem right either, so, oh well.
No, Dennis, we are all that and more.
We are not that.
We're not that, so you were wrong.
All right. I think.
Hi, everybody.
Are we not that? No.
Are we not men?
We're not Devo. I've seen Devo, and it wasn't us.
I'm Devo, and you are no Devo.
I saw Devo at a little club in Grand Rapids, Michigan, somewhat past their prime, and they opened with an acoustic guitar version of "Are We Not Men?"
Wow!
Right, and Mark Mothersbaugh, he finishes. He's just sitting there on a stool by himself playing it, cool. and music ends, and he leans over into the mic and he says, "I bet you never knew that was such a sad song."
I'm fearing that to much of our audience, none of that meant anything.
That's cool.
But that's 80% of what we talk about.
The thing is, nothing that ever existed will ever be inaccessible from now on, because you can always look things up on, say YouTube and see as much Devo as you want.
Yes.
Which is unfair to them, because
it's true.
Then they probably don't make any money on that.
No.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
This is our last show before the end of 2017.
Goodbye, 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what people were saying at the end of 2016.
I know, but this time we really mean it.
Look how that turned out.
We really mean it.
You think that 2018 is going to be a lot better?
Oh, God, no.
Probably not.
I do.
It'd be worse.
I do. I'm going to say yes, because what good does it do us to be
nattering nabobs?
To be all bummed out?
Such
What
an
good does it do?
Optimist.
I'm not. I think I can probably be cured, but let's just not.
Right.
Let's not let me die of being. What's the opposite of a pessimist? Optimist. Yeah.
Yes.
Let me die of optimism. That sounds good.
Optimism.
As an engineer, I say the glass is too big.
Hey, it was optimism killed the beast.
Well, do you say the glass is too big, or do you say the glass is too small?
I say the glass is too big, because if it were half as big, then it would be full. That's the point.
You don't want it to be full?
What? No, I do want it to be full.
Well, then, if it's half empty now,
yes,
then the glass is too big.
That's what I said.
If it's okay, I got it.
My spoon is too big.
Okay, but what if you wanted it to be half full?
Why would you want that?
Because the half might be the correct amount for something.
Recommended serving size, perhaps.
I mean, if the glass was
those are the two choices. You realize, of course, the
glass to be empty.
The options given are half empty or half full, right?
Right.
Not all the way full. You're the one who's stepping outside the bounds of the problem.
How do you get something half full? Those are two contradictory statements.
Well, there's an amount that's full.
Yeah.
And then there's half that amount. That's what that is.
Okay. Half full.
I don't see.
Well,
a problem
then what's
with that
half?
term.
Then what's half empty?
Empty. Same thing.
You have the
Right.
exact same problem. It's a word problem that you're
Does it
having.
even mean?
David from New Zealand says,
Yes.
the story from episode 1620 on cow vigilantes piqued my interest. It sounded so bizarre, I wondered what was going on. I guess he did his research.
Yeah.
It turns out that killing cows is actually illegal in many Indian states.
Well, sure.
I didn't know India had states. I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
India is a big place.
But the police don't really enforce these laws. Due to the recent election of a right-wing fundamentalist government preaching a Hindu-first ideology, there has been an increase in tension between the Hindus who believe in the sacred cow and the Muslims who believe in the tasty cow. I don't know that the the Hindus would necessarily object to the statement that the cow is tasty. That's not really their issue. They're not saying don't kill them because they don't taste good. That's really not part of their argument.
Yeah.
If a Muslim is suspected of slaughtering or consuming a cow, the unenforced cow laws give certain elements in the Hindu population an excuse to steal from, assault, or murder their religious rivals. Wow,
Right.
is that how the law? So it's the right. That's why they're vigilantes rather than.
Yeah.
Are vigilantes always guys who are enforcing some law that's actually on the books but not being enforced? I thought vigilantes were guys who might be doing that, but also might be just making up their own laws.
Well, Batman's a vigilante, and he's enforcing laws that aren't being enforced by the police.
Sure.
So, yeah, either the police can't
But some
or
lynch
won't.
lynch mob is not necessarily enforcing a law,
No.
right? And those are vigilantes.
Yeah. That's what they call it.
You know, not only are there Indian states, but I vaguely remembered some years ago I worked with a fellow from India, and he told me that North and South India are so different that they speak multiple different languages in the various parts of that place.
It's almost that way here.
So, I mean, big place.
Yeah.
But do they have different accents? Because that's what's really important
Certainly.
for this show.
Yes.
I'm sure they do.
But
I
don't
can't whip
think
them out.
we are good enough at...
No.
Yeah. If we don't already know what those accents are, probably...
I'm writing it
I know.
let's not.
On episode 1213,
God,
Jeff
here
D
we
did
go.
an Indian accent, and he said it was a man from northern India, but that was a southern Indian accent. You can tell a difference because... Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
See,
That's basically us.
what you're doing is a Hank Azaria accent right now. From The Simpsons.
The vigilante or from Mystery Men.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Oh no, he didn't do that. He did a posh British accent.
That's right, but
Okay.
but Hank Azaria also voiced like half the minor characters in The Simpsons,
Right.
including and yes, he was also what was his name? The spoon
who is
thrower.
a bit of a there's a bit of a controversy around
yeah.
The
character
Blue
as
Raja.
well. I can
Yes,
understand.
thank you, Blue Raja.
The vigilante going on with David's letter from New Zealand.
Yes.
David from New Zealand.
Yes. Lest we get distracted.
The vigilante actions occur usually without consequence from the Hindu-run state, thereby tacitly endorsing the suppression of minority religions.
Yeah.
It's too bad these religions are more interested in preaching the sacredness of a useful animal rather than the sacredness of human life.
That is too bad.
Now we're going to get letters from vegans, right?
Yep.
Who will be, here's the thing, folks, that your reason for not wanting to eat meat is completely different from the Hindu reasons for not eating cows. It's a completely different thing.
Yep.
So
This is not your fight.
We're addressing one and not the other.
Yeah.
Though I'm sure we'll get into veganism at some point. Okay. Thank you, David. Yeah. The news story we read about that didn't really explain the background. And now we got it.
So it's the holiday season, and I learned from the Pew Forum.
Bastard! It's the Christmas season.
Yeah. Shut up, Bill O'Reilly.
Sorry.
Or Trump, I guess.
Ugh. Yeah.
Americans say religious aspects of Christmas are declining in public life. A shrinking majority believe biblical account of birth of Jesus depicts actual events.
What?
I
said, oi, oi, oi. Right.
Why, oi, oi, oi? That's
They believe
good.
They don't believe it depicts actual
A
events.
shrinking number
shrinking
of
number of
people.
people.
Sorry,
The number of
misheard.
You should be in
people.
favor of that. But, I'm
Misheard.
getting very
I'm good with it.
suspicious of Dennis, who came walking into my house this evening
Yeah.
whistling Christmas songs.
Yes. Jingle bells in a minor key sounds
Well, it
really
didn't-
sorrowful.
It didn't sound like a minor key to me.
You know, I've been walking through stores and hearing Christmas music,
Yeah.
and every once in a while, instead of your standard carols, the Charlie Brown theme will come on, and I'm like, I can tolerate
I can
this.
dance
like,
to.
You know, that's some
good.
that's some okay piano
Yeah.
jazz.
Well, there's no lyrics, which is,
Right.
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah,
big
that
improvement
helps. Makes it
on
totally
almost
happy.
every Christmas song ever
Right.
written.
Yeah.
and it's kind of fun. I can't stand
It's peppy.
Christmas
All you
music
can imagine
mostly.
is Snoopy just doing his Snoopy dance to it.
That's right. How can you frown with that?
Yeah. Anyway, as long simmering debates continue over how American society should commemorate the Christmas holiday, a new Pew Research Center survey finds that most U.S. adults believe the religious aspects of Christmas are emphasized less now than in the past, even as relatively few Americans are bothered by this trend.
Good.
Make that relatively few Americans who do not have a show on Fox News or with the White House. In addition, a declining majority says the religious displays such as nativity scenes should be allowed on government property, and compared with 5 years ago, a growing share of Americans say that it does not matter to them how they're greeted in stores and businesses during the holiday season, whether with Merry Christmas or a less religious greeting like Happy Holidays.
Right.
So let's. I've got some numbers here.
Can I comment on
Sure.
like the first sentence of the first paragraph?
Yeah.
Long simmering debates.
Yeah.
Over how American society
people are saying-
should commemorate the Christmas holiday. How American society should, as if the only proper answer is all Americans doing the same thing because it's our society.
Right.
Right. There's not going to be one standard because our society is made of people who want to do things different ways. And this is not a legal issue. So it's nobody else's freaking business.
Yeah.
The answer to that debate is shut up. do what you want and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be telling me I have to do things a certain way because my society does. Yeah, tell me I have to do things a certain way because that's the law, and you got my attention.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not that, and if it's not something that's just fundamentally like hazardous
Right.
to
Do
my
no
neighbors,
harm.
right? Which means
Yes.
it maybe ought to be against the law. But if it's not, and if I found something that where I could really endanger others without breaking the law, I'll listen to your arguments against that, right?
Right.
But just because society does, how is that even a thing anymore?
I mean, hell, I even hear debates around this time of year about how atheists should feel about the Christmas
There is
season,
no way
which drives me
that
fucking
atheists
crazy.
have to feel.
Yeah.
The only thing atheists have to agree on is that there isn't a God, else you're not one.
If your society jumps off a cliff, are you
And
just
that's
going to
not-
follow them?
And that's not because atheists say everybody has to feel that way. Most of us think it's a good idea, but even that's not necessary. As long as you don't think there's a God, you're an atheist, you're done.
Right.
Then anything beyond that is your own business. We have a letter that's probably relevant to this that I'll read.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will read some numbers and I'll gloss over this graph because graphs get
Read
badly
us some
on
numbers without
radio.
any context,
Okay.
because that'll be interesting.
55.
Awesome.
46.
I knew it.
And 9.
Whoa, that's surprising.
Does that?
All right.
That's 101. So that's.
No, that is actually 100.
Is it?
I believe.
I just did it in my head. I must have got it wrong. 57.
55.
55.
Okay. Currently, 55% of
No,
U.S.
you're right.
adults
You're right.
say...
You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
I did
Wait,
in
no.
my head, too. Yes.
7, 2, 3, 5, 6. That's 92 and 9 is 101, dude.
What?
101. I had it right in my head. It's 101.
91 and 9 is 100.
Yeah, 91 is, but at 55 and 47 is. It was 47, 5 seconds.
Boy, this is even better radio than reading graphs.
Anyway, what are those numbers about anyway?
Yeah, please explain.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, okay, right.
All right. 55% of U.S. adults say they celebrate Christmas as a religious holiday. That's still a lot. Including 46%. Oh, the 46% is actually a subgroup. It's just a coincidence.
Oh, it's wow, it's a coincidence it adds up to 100?
Yes.
Jeez.
Including 46% who see it as more of a religious holiday than a cultural holiday, and 9% who celebrate Christmas as both. And that leaves 45%. Wait a minute. That's 110%. We were both wrong.
What's 110%?
55, 46, and 9 is 110.
55, 46, and 9.
Oh, God.
11 and 9.
Is the 9 another?
do math.
Is the 9 another sub?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. We were both
Subgroup?
wrong.
Yep.
Is 9 another subgroup, or is it?
Oh.
But there's no reason they should have
I
added
don't want to look
up.
at the chat, and I don't want to read the emails
One
now.
is a subgroup of the other, so there's no reason they have to
Yes.
add to 100. But
No.
you did catch it, so good for you. Cookie for Russell.
I still feel bad.
Is this story actually about anything anymore?
We don't know.
The remaining numbers in this story are 59, 51, and 7.
All right.
I'm not adding them. I'm not doing it. So, what I want to know, the same thing I wanted to know last time we argued over a story. It's
from
down.
several years ago.
Good.
What's down? The
The
amount?
number of people celebrating it as religious.
Aha.
Good.
That's what I want to know.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And over half of people say it doesn't matter how stores greet customers for the holiday.
Right.
52% said doesn't matter. 32% said it should be Merry Christmas. And 15% said it should not be Merry Christmas.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
So some of the people who say it matters are actually against
Yes.
the Christmas, which is interesting. There is a war on Christmas. It's just 15%.
they're losing.
yeah. Badly.
15% of people are actually fighting
Yep.
Christmas.
I mean, you know what it is I think after all this talk of war on Christmas, people are just getting more and more irritated with the whole
Right.
topic and going the other way.
Okay,
And
it's
of
calling
course-
it a war. I'm taking sides.
And
Thank
I
you,
should,
Bill O'Reilly.
And I should correct myself because those 15% of people are not necessarily against Christmas. They are against imposing one particular view of it on everybody.
Sure.
Those are the people, a lot of those people. Some of them are probably against Christmas, but a lot of them are also probably, hey, you don't know who that guy is that you just said that to.
Right.
Right, which is a perfectly reasonable position. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, yes, interesting numbers.
Yes.
That
I
don't always add up
particularly
to
like
things.
46.
Yeah. So keep that in mind if you work retail.
Right.
But the trend is it's going down, right? So,
good.
but what in the position?
Trend is
Do you
going
think
in
there
the
was a
right
position espoused in this article, or was this just purely putting numbers in front of us? Did you get the impression that they had an opinion?
The Pew Forum?
Yeah.
The Pew Forum.
Well, this particular article.
This particular article is at pewforum.org. This is a report of
They
their
should not have an opinion.
You gonna answer? You have an answer to my question,
I
or do you
don't
want to keep
feel
talking
like
about the
they-
Pew Forum?
I feel like they're just reporting what
Okay.
Right.
it said.
Okay.
It's crucial to them that they remain
Okay.
I have no opinion one way or the other.
Tell my wife I said hello. Brian writes, we were just doing the neutrals from what's that show?
Futurama.
Forgive me, Jeff, for I have sinned.
Wow, that's a way to start.
Seriously, dude. I took part in the official nativity play, If My City. I think he meant in. He's probably meant in.
Of my
All right, don't make fun of people's spelling mistakes.
I played Joseph and had 2 lines. Of what?
Okay.
I feel I have betrayed my people and need to absolve myself of this horrible taste in my mouth. Okay, first of all,
Nobody
if
gives a
you
shit,
feel,
dude.
whoever you think your people are, if you feel you have betrayed them, that's between you and whoever you think your people are. And you don't, absolving yourself of a taste in your mouth, is that a thing? I thought absolving yourself was like you did something bad, not that you just had a bad taste. What you do is you wash the taste out of your mouth. Okay. What is my punishment, O highest of heathens? Okay, Brian, screw this shit, man. That is not how it works. I don't really. I'm not amused by being dragged into that crap. Don't do that. Don't do it. I'm just a moron on the internet radio. That's it. That's me.
Forget this guy being forgiven for playing the character Joseph. What I'm really mad about is Mark Hamill, because Luke is not real. Spoiler.
Oh.
What? So, I mean, if we're going to be mad at people for portraying characters that we don't believe are real now.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, why pick on Mark Hamill then?
Because it's topical.
Oh, boy.
I mean, topical, but we can't talk about it.
I almost said a very politically partisan thing just then. Okay. I don't have
But no, he's feeling guilty for
nobody
helping the religious push their message.
Nobody minds people playing fictitious characters in general that I know of, though, you can find a person taking any weird position on any argument. Yeah. But no, there aren't atheist sins.
No.
We don't do that, right?
You can aid and abet the Christmas story, but doesn't matter. Hardly.
The Christmas story is frankly doing just fine with or without your participation.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, let's have no more of that. It's not. I just don't think that kind of crap is funny. Turning it around on us and look, so you guys are like religious figures.
We're the atheist pope.
No, we're freaking not. Cut it out.
We're guys who can't even do math. So
that's right.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you hear that last segment? You know who came out smelling like a rose in that segment? Dennis. He didn't wait.
I didn't wait in. Keep your head down. That's the rule. Keep your head down.
All right.
Any more news happen?
Yes. Somebody died, and that is normally a very sad thing.
Depends who it is.
It does.
It does.
Remind you guys of the story Spotlight. I'm reminding you.
You mean the movie Spotlight?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm mad at all those actors because they played Oh, wait a minute.
They played characters who
did exist, but they weren't really them.
Traumatized.
So they weren't really them. So that must be some kind of sin.
Actors are just professional liars.
All righty. So go on.
I want to pull out a quote from Galaxy Quest, but I'm not fast enough to think of one. But those poor people. Yeah. So one of the people referenced in the movie Spotlight, which was a story about a bunch of journalists investigating child sex abuse in the Catholic Church, was this fellow Cardinal Law. Mm-hmm. Cardinal Bernard Law, who died at the age of 86 on Wednesday.
Oh.
That is today.
Today.
Wait, is that today or last week? It's today. Well, Cardinal Law's dead.
Can we fly the flags at double height?
Yeah. I was kidding about being mad at those actors, but I have started a petition to ask that film studio to take that movie out of the official canon.
Oh,
And anybody who's been following the Star Wars nonsense
Star Wars
knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The story. I had two stories to pull up. One was about how he's being honored with a Vatican funeral, and the other is a story of an abuse survivor whose quote on this was, his funeral should involve chopping him up and, undignified.
Well, if anyone's allowed to say that, it's a victim.
I would say.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
So it's hard to find a story without a slant on this. But anyway, the Vatican said early Wednesday that Law, 86, had died in Rome after a long illness. He served in Rome as archpriest of the Papal Liberian Basilica of St. Mary Major after he was forced to resign in 2002 as Boston Archbishop. Critics say, and that includes us.
Yes.
Wait a minute. You're about to read in a news story what I say? Can you leave me out? Leave me out of it. Let me find out if that's, in fact, what I would say, and then I'll either agree or not.
His reassignment to Rome amounted to a cushy second career that shouldn't have been afforded him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. That's not going out on a limb. No.
And it also mentions widespread child. What?
Hello, it is me, the Pope, calling from Rome. I just want to open by wishing you all a very, 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 very merry holidays.
Okay,
We're all happy.
It is very sad, the story you're reading about my good friend, Cardinal Law.
dude, have some sensitivity for the victims, man.
Oh yes, of course. Sensitivity for everyone.
Oh, good
You
grief.
see, equal sensitivity. We are all children of the God, are we not?
No, we are not.
No.
I mean, yes, we are not.
Are we not? Hey, no, yes, no, God damn it.
You caught me. You caught me in my double negative. You heard, do you have the news story about how I wish we should change some of the words of the, what is it, the catechism or the something, lead us not into temptation. I don't think God should be saying that. I want to change that in the Bible. Do you have this story?
I have that from October.
Lead us into
This was the
temptation.
thing. Did we cover that?
I don't recall.
I am on your show so often. I feel like I am one of the crew. Yes. So I've forgotten what I am. It is sad that Cardinal Law is dead.
Not really.
But what did they say he died of?
Long illness.
Oh yes. That's what we want them to
I
say.
wonder what that's a euphemism for.
That is exactly what we want them to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it is not like he was a major embarrassment to us or anything that we would want to do anything about that. Anyway, so thank you. Happy Merry Holidays and whatever, all those other things you say over there in America. Goodbye.
Festivus.
I wish I had some. I wish I had some jingle bells. Ching, ching, ching. There he goes, flying away in his sleigh.
God.
There he goes,
That'll do. He's ascending through
With
this
his
open roof now.
his sleigh pulled by 8 tiny choir boys.
Oh,
That one of them has a red glowing.
Nose. Please.
We'll say nose.
We'll say
because we can say that.
that was well done,
Goodbye.
by the way.
Goodbye, Your Holiness.
Anyway,
Don't
the
come
story
Okay.
mentions briefly that widespread child abuse was uncovered by the Boston Globe's Spotlight investigative reporting team. They won a Pulitzer Prize and a big screen dramatization in 2015, won the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Yeah. It was an excellent film.
If you guys haven't seen it already, just see it.
Good.
An excellent film, but I really think that they ruined the character of whoever that guy that actor was playing.
Which one?
And we were led to believe that one reporter's parents were like really important, and there was some big secret there, and they turned out to be nobodies. And sorry,
Man, I forgot.
You're turning up thin ice, Jeff.
Oh, okay. I just got you.
All right. So that wasn't me. That was somebody who cares about that kind of shit. All right. So,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive ticket just to take a leak, but hey, it might be worth it.
Okay. So it's me again.
It's you.
How are we doing on time?
Oh, we're early on, man.
Okay. I guess we did something on flat earthers at some point.
Yes,
We must have, yes, we did. We did.
I think we
had all sorts of amusing arguments.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
Flat Earther said we spent a long time discussing their website.
Yeah.
Yes, and the technicalities of flat.
Dan says, if flat earthers want me to take them seriously, they just have to do one thing: produce an accurate flat map of the Earth with no distortions of land masses or bodies of water. All bodies of land and bodies of water have to have the correct area, and all cities, towns, landmarks, etc., have to be the correct distances from each other.
Yeah.
I am
perfect.
so tired of these morons.
Well, I
Yeah.
feel
Well,
like
that is an excellent no-nonsense response.
It
to
is.
this, to
I
this
like it.
crap.
I think the handy apologist response would be, have you been to all of those cities? Because,
Right.
the
of
round
course-
earth conspiracy wants you to believe that
Yes.
so-and-so
The
town.
airlines are all in it. The planes will do circles to make things look like they're further away. And yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the flat earthers would want you to walk the distance with a little, distance meter or something.
Right.
All right.
That's all. That's what Dan had.
Yes.
That's an excellent
Yeah.
as proof. Should have one already. We should have a map of a flat Earth already.
Yeah. Well, we would if it
been
wasn't
thinking
for the
about this.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russell.
I feel like I'm failing in my duty to acknowledge the people who have generously supplied some of this news.
Oh, yeah.
Scott on Facebook was the first to call out Cardinal Law this morning.
Yep. I hadn't heard till I just got into the show. So yeah.
Now, earlier this week, I had actually posted something myself to #NonProphets News about the CDC.
Are you gonna thank yourself?
Thanks, me.
This
Actually,
such an incestuous little group.
I may have posted too hastily, so I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
criticize me.
Wow. Okay.
You heard of it?
Us too.
Yes, I heard about the words.
Yeah.
What?
The word.
Oh, yeah,
It's the bird. The bird.
So the
is word.
CDC, it was reported.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, for
Yeah.
people who aren't up on all the acronyms,
Yeah.
had posted. The Washington Post had said that they got a list of forbidden words, including fetus, transgender, and diversity.
And anybody who got that reference scored.
Yeah.
10 points.
Right.
Fetus, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, and dunk. Now, Dennis knows what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. There's an obscure comedy science fiction movie. Okay, so
Yeah, the story opened by saying the Trump administration was prohibiting officials at the nation's top public health agency from using these words. And they are altogether vulnerable, entitlement, diversity, transgender, fetus, evidence-based, and science-based. And in some cases, the analysts were given alternative phrases, such as instead of saying science-based or evidence-based, the suggested phrase is CDC bases its recommendations on science in consideration with community standards and wishes, which is a lot less concise.
Yeah. Good grief.
The slight modification that I have seen some people bring up is that the CDC has now denied that they were banned from using these. The Human Rights Campaign, working with artist Robin Bell, projected words like fetus and transgender onto the this is an early thing because since they projected the words onto the Trump International Hotel in Washington D.C., which is kind of funny.
Protest.
The Department of Health and Human Services has denied the report, calling it a complete mischaracterization. The CDC says the words are not banned and the organization remains committed to our public health mission as a science and evidence-based institution. But sorry, I'm trying. So
they already used two of the words.
What I had heard, but maybe this isn't well sourced, is that they were paranoid of getting their funding yanked, and they were advising each other to find ways to say it that will not freak out Republicans. Which isn't much better.
No. It shows that the administration is creating an atmosphere of
paranoia. Yeah. But it's hard to sift through all that story in real time.
Right. And of course, that news story is crafted to tell us what we want to hear.
Here we go.
Am I wrong in remembering that Trump has appointed people to that department?
Well, I'm not sure. The director of the CDC, Brenda Fitzgerald, denied the words are banned, but did not deny that some staff may have been instructed to avoid certain language in key budget documents.
Because people were told to avoid bullshit, except if the people that did pass that on were Trump appointees, then, he is responsible for the actions of people that he appoints.
Well, if anyone wants to look up Brenda Fitzgerald and see if she's an appointee, then be my guest.
Okay.
But either way, for instance, there's also a reference to the fact that ever since Trump pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Accord and the 2018 budget proposal singled out climate change research for elimination, the Environmental Protection Agency has been systematically removing references to climate change from its official website. So whether that's due to official mandate or due to paranoia of being targeted by the president, it kind of winds up in the same place.
Yeah, it's a chilling effect.
Yeah.
She has been the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention since July 2017, which is well into
like a Trump appointee.
Into Trump's term of office. Yeah.
All right.
So politics. In 1994, she ran for the Republican nomination of in the 7th Congressional District in Georgia. And during the campaign, she and Newt Gingrich threw symbolic crates of tea into the Chattahoochee River as a bit of political theater. Okay, well, so anyway,
They weren't thrown to the ground and arrested?
They can deny all they want. That is the atmosphere that's going on in our government right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the mood there. And,
guys, be careful not to talk too much about science.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, because we wouldn't want to use science in controlling disease at all.
No.
Right.
Okay, you guys ready to jump into this? We got a lot of pushback on our things we said about uploading, and
That's so.
the transporter problem. We got so much. I didn't bring the thing specifically about the transporter problem because really the uploading issue is kind of
same
we'll
deal.
kind of cover it, but maybe
Okay.
if there's something we miss, people will complain. So you ready? Wolf writes, "Your arguments are dumb."
Thanks, Wolf.
Cool. All right.
Your mom is dumb.
No. No offense, but they don't address, that's 1D, address, or even look at the actual situation on uploading your brain and such. Uploading your brain and such? I wonder what the and such is.
I don't want to upload my such. That's personal.
Maybe Wolf will send us a
Transporting,
list
etc.
of other things that he thinks we'll need to upload. Because there is a important part, not an important part. A important part you gloss over.
You know, ordinarily I'd say it's not fair to make fun of people's.
He just attack us in the title of
He
the post.
sure did. So fair game.
But we will address, when we get to your points, Wolf, we will address them seriously. Because there is a important part you gloss over me, comma, the me that is here now. Yes, a copy of me will exist, but so the heck what? A clone is a copy of me, but I'm dead, so I experience nothing the clone does. Same with transporter and such. There's more suches. I guess there's other things he thinks are like transporters, but he doesn't say what they are. Depending on how it works, it's no different than cloning a copy of me on the ship. Depending on how it works.
Yes.
Seriously?
It depends very much on how it.
No.
To me,
He says, depending on how it works, it's no different. Well, what you mean to say is that there might be some ways that it could work that would be okay. But that's not what he's saying.
No.
It's no different than cloning a copy of me on the ship, uploading my mind into it, then putting a bullet in my head on the planet. Okay.
Right.
Anybody ready to jump in on this yet?
Well, he goes
on.
I'll jump in on it.
Okay, go ahead. You're the one of all of us that's kind of on his side.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Kind of on his side, but he doesn't seem to address it's the continuity. If halfway through the transporter effect, I'm in two places at once, then there's no break in continuity, and nobody's getting a bullet put through their brain.
And
at the end, I'm being destructively scanned at one end and reassembled at the other. Over time.
I have constructively scanned the rest of Wolf's letter, and he never touches on the continuity issue. Okay, so here's the thing, Wolf. I think where we're not communicating is you talk about your me, right? Like your me is a thing. And obviously there is a sense of a kind of a thing that it is, but I think that you may be thinking that your me is a thing that follows the same rules as other physical things. Right, like baseballs and cat would be a thing. Baseballs and cars and bricks and other physical objects. Okay, and I think that what the three of us agree on is that the sense in which your me is a thing is it's a kind of a thing called a pattern. Right, it's a kind of thing called a bunch of data and information, and I think where we're not connecting is you're treating that kind of thing like a physical object. Now, it is still mysterious how it is that a pattern can be self-aware. But this does appear to be what's going on. And so to focus on your physical body so much is kind of missing the point, or at least the point we're making. And it might not be an important point to you, but I think that's because you haven't thought about it quite enough.
I mean, you might want to read what philosophers have to say about this topic, because we are absolutely not philosophers, and
actually,
there's a ton of stuff.
If I could jump to his, I don't want to jump to his last paragraph. He does get into a thing that is a philosophical thing, and I want to address that specifically when we get there. So you go on to say, Wolf, some version of me experiences the ship, but it's not the me that was headed to the ship. Well, if the me we're talking about is not your physical body, but the pattern of data that comprises your mind, right? We got to talk about patterns differently than we talk about physical objects, right? A copy, if J.R.R. Tolkien writes The Lord of the Rings, right? And you can pick up the hardcover or the softcover version, or one set of softcover books when there's another set over there. They have copies of the exact same thing, barring typos and shit, right? Sure. It is possible for two different instances of the same data to be the exact same data in a relevant way. Yeah. We think.
So I'm a software engineer, so my bias is people are software. So take what I say with a grain of very slanted.
Well, I think.
No, I'm not gonna. I totally agree.
Okay. But I mean, if you send me an email and I am across town and you ask, "Did you get my email?" I don't get bogged down in philosophical questions about, well, I got a duplicate of your email, which now exists on my physical hard drive. I'm like, no, I received the thing you sent me.
Right.
You have a copy. I have a copy. It's the same email, though.
Okay.
And I think about minds in a similar way.
Right. And Wolf is thinking about physical bodies, right? And I think that's where we're not communicating. So going on with Wolf's letter. Some version of me experiences the ship, but it's not the me that was heading to the ship. Well, it's not the same physical body, but it is a body that has an exact copy of exactly the software that was in your previous one.
But one body is at the ship, looking at all the cool stuff.
Right.
The other is disappointed, standing on Earth.
And that's totally a thing we have to engage with.
Yes.
But I think actually he's talking about the Star Trek, the destructive transporter process, where you're left with only one. No, wait.
Yeah, that works.
Back off a second.
Well, what?
In his specific formulation of this that he's talking about right now, there is only one copy, so we don't get that.
Right.
But honestly, there have been the transporter accidents in the show where there's two of them, and then that becomes a thing they have to deal with. But so it's not the same physical body, obviously. The question is that relevant? And you say, I cease to exist and cease to experience anything. That's only true, Wolf, if the only relevant thing is that one physical body that got vaporized in the transport process. If that is the relevant thing, you really, at this point, I think we need to turn this around, Wolf, and insist that you prove to us that is the relevant thing, because it's not obvious that it is. So you say, I cease to exist and cease to experience anything. Now, the experiencing thing gets to the actual mystery here, which is how a process that is running can be self-aware. We don't really understand that yet, but artificial intelligence research guys are working on it.
Yeah.
And that's going to get cracked at some point. We know that can get cracked because check it out. there's even if the only way we can do it is by directly duplicating existing, brains with processes running on them. If we can't make our own because we can't understand it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be solved and demonstrated that it's the software.
Yeah. If he's talking about the Star Trek transporter, then at no point in the process does your experience stop.
I know, but he's saying it's a form of suicide you willingly go through. He's talking about a destructive transporter thing. He is not addressing continuity. Like I said, nowhere in his letter does he address continuity. He is talking about, hey, this was my physical body. You destroyed it. Therefore, I'm dead. He doesn't care about continuity. He doesn't care about the AI issue, right? The software issue. He doesn't care about any of that. He cares about that one physical body, and that's where we're not communicating. Which doesn't mean we're right, but Wolf, just so you know, doesn't prove that we're right. But in order for us to have a more constructive conversation about this, I think that now the ball should be back in your court. And if you're going to write to us again, explain to us why it has to be the physical body that is the issue and not any of this other stuff.
And, I'm totally willing to entertain Wolf's and Dennis's version of versions of the way they think that this ought to work. But I think to just dismiss that part of the argument by saying that's dumb, here's how it obviously works, is a very Dunning-Kruger kind of thing to do. It indicates somebody who hasn't really spent enough time looking into or reading up on the various reasons why this is an argument.
If you're fine with that, that's okay, but I don't see the point of doing something that won't ever let me experience anything. Okay, again, depends what your me is. If your me is that particular physical brain, you're right. But if your me is actually the package of software and data that is your consciousness, that is just running on your brain, then you're not necessarily right. We could be right. You bring up things like sleep, but that's not even related. You're still there as far as we can tell. As far as we can tell? So does it all come down to as far as we can tell, as far as we can tell, the copy of you on the surface of the planet or up on the ship. Again, we've been talking about going into the ship. This copy of you that shows up on the ship is identical to you in every respect, in the exact same way that the copy of you that went to sleep is the same as the copy that wakes up. Then, as far as we can tell, it's still you. Right. Don't make it be about as far as we can tell. It's more important than that. It has to actually have some reasoning behind it, not just gut reaction. To me, any version that I would use, I guess any version of a transporter that I would use would have to have some form of ship of Theseus so that there isn't this dead stop. Okay, here we are at the philosophical.
Right.
So ship of Theseus. Well,
there he's talking about continuity.
I guess he is. So this whole ship of Theseus thing.
Spelled Theseus wrong, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you, Russell. Defender of not being unfair to our letter
now
writers.
My hackles are raised.
Look, the ship of Theseus thing, also often referred to as your grandfather's axe problem, right? Where you replaced the axe and you replaced the handle and
the blade.
So
you replace the blade and the handle.
Yes, the blade and the handle, but it's still the same axe. Right. This philosophical problem is about if you progressively replace a thing, is the end product still the thing? Right. Now, on one level, I think this is completely fucking stupid because vast amounts of our own matter gets replaced over our lives. Mm-hmm. So unless people trotting this thing out want to start, jumping up and down and waving their arms and going, we're not the same people we used to be. I mean, there's a sense in which that may be technically correct, but for all practical purposes, nobody freaking cares. So that's on one level. On another level, this totally has nothing to do with what we're saying about your mind being software, because there is no such problem with software. It doesn't matter what the software, what electrons the software is made out of, or what hardware the software is running on. It completely doesn't matter.
It does
It's
matter,
a pattern.
I think, to Dennis's continuity point.
it
It's a reasonable analogy.
What matters is the experience,
Right.
but that is a separate question from, because I don't even care
Yeah.
about that.
I mean,
I don't even care about the continuity.
I get to experience,
particularly.
over the years, the replacement of all my atoms and molecules, right?
Yeah.
And so it happens in 30 seconds when I'm transported, when I enter the transporter. No difference at that point. If I get to experience it,
Right.
It's
I don't
fine.
even care about that.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't think
I
that's relevant.
That's just my personal.
So that there isn't this dead stop. With a dead stop, there is no way for me to exist on both sides, even assuming there is one with thesis methods.
I think
so he is getting to that.
I think it's just weirdly metaphysical and unnecessary to say that as long as it's bit by bit, then it's the same person. But if it all happens at once, then it's not. I mean, that seems like a weird cutoff.
It is,
Well-
particularly when our position is that it's about the software. Because with software, we have absolutely no such concerns, right? Software operates by different principles than physical objects do, even if you think that this ship of Theseus thing is a big deal, which I don't. So, okay. I think if you're going to argue something, Wolf, here, let me just give you some advice. If you want to keep coming at us, come at us with the complexities of, well, this way you could make, never mind the destructive transporter process, this way you could make two identical copies of the same data. And are they both the same person? Right? That is a fair concern to raise.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, it's easily dispensed with, right? Because the only problem there is a problem of our language and how we are used to talking about things. All kinds of things happen all the time that change the way
And legal
things
issues,
work.
yes.
Yeah, and legal issues. Those would all be things we'd have to address, but it doesn't make it impossible or, just because it might be annoying and complicated doesn't mean it's not true. So, there you go. Thank you, Wolf. may not feel like we're being very welcoming of your feedback, but there you go. Do you have something to say, Russell?
No, I think I said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said.
But it is.
Is it time for a thing?
Yeah, it's time for a thing.
Ooh, a thing?
If you're. Yeah. It is specifically, it's time for shit internet apologists say.
Yeah, your setup on that is really getting longer, and they've been fine. They've been fine cutting in with the.
I
echo.
know.
So you just give
Just want to make
some.
sure to make it easy on
Yeah.
them.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He cares. Too much.
All right. So last Tuesday, this fella that we've been talking about a lot on the show recently lost his election. And he just barely lost the election, and it was kind of back and forth during the whole thing.
He's still saying he hasn't lost the election, isn't he?
Right. But it's not really close. But as somebody on Twitter pointed out, he still doesn't think the South lost the Civil War. So why do you expect him to
Right, or that gay people have the right to marry.
Yeah.
Or that the Ten Commandments monument should not be, Ten Commandments plaque or whatever it was, doesn't belong in his courtroom.
Or that the Earth is more than a few thousand years old.
Yeah.
Oh, really? He's one of those?
I I actually don't know.
Okay.
But I
Why not?
I would be surprised.
You're
if he was
extrapolating
not
a bit.
young earther.
Statistically, you're probably right, but
Yeah.
we don't know that for a fact.
It smells
But
like a duck.
Anyway, I came across this interesting editorial
Oh, no.
via Daylight Atheism, which is Adam Lee's blog at Patheos. And the interesting thing about this editorial about Roy Moore is that it's got some nuance. I think when I read a bit of it, you're going to say, oh, well, that's spot on. Why are we calling this shit internet apologists say? So I'm going to ask you to hang in there.
All right. Tell us when we get to go.
All right. The title of this in ChristianityToday.com from, I believe, the chief editor of that publication, Mark Galley. It's called The Biggest Loser in the Alabama Elections. It's not Republicans or Democrats, but Christian Witness.
Okay.
Okay.
No matter the outcome of today's special election in Alabama, so this is written on Tuesday, for a coveted U.S. Senate seat, there's already one loser, Christian faith. When it comes to either matters of life and death or personal commitments of the human heart, no one will believe a word we say, perhaps for a generation. Christianity's integrity is severely tarnished. How are we doing so far?
Boy, there's stuff I disagree with.
Depends on how he thinks it was tarnished and by who.
Okay.
Yeah.
The race between Republican candidate Roy Moore and Democratic candidate Doug Jones has only put an exclamation point on a problem that has been festering for a year and a half ever since a core of strident conservative Christians began to cheer for Donald Trump without qualification, and a chorus of other believers decried that support as immoral. The Christian leaders who have excused, ignored, or justified his unscrupulous behavior and his indecent rhetoric have only given credence to their critics who accuse them of hypocrisy. Meanwhile,
Is it our turn yet?
what?
I don't really have anything to say.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Got nothing to-
I told you.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
sounds fine for a
Keep
while.
going. Keep going.
Meanwhile, the easy willingness of moderate and progressive Christians to cast aspersions on their conservative brothers and sisters has made many wonder about our claim that Jesus Christ can bring diverse people together as no other can. All right. Here's where
So he appears to be now tipping in favor of accusing moderate and liberal Christians for being the problem.
yeah.
Isn't that how that appears to be tipping? Let's see.
He's being very both sidesy.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so and
Well, as you know, there are good people on both sides.
right.
But they
Most
don't
of them
send their
didn't
best.
molest teenage
That's
girls.
something I learned from our president recently.
Yeah. I believe he said on many sides.
Yes, many sides.
So then there's a subheading, the hypocrisy on the left.
Okay.
From moderate and liberal brothers and sisters, conservatives have received swift and decisive condemnation. They call these conservatives idolaters for seeking after political power. They call them homophobes for wanting Christian bakers to legally follow their conscience. They call them racists and Islamophobes for wanting
Whoa, wait a minute. Whoa.
Yes.
Let's get back to the previous thing.
Okay.
Calling them homophobes for wanting to legally
Wanting Christian bakers.
Christian bakers to legally
Follow their conscience.
What he is not saying that would be true is that they're called homophobes for wanting the law to allow them to that's the word.
Discriminate.
To discriminate, right? Not that they want to do it legally, right? They want the law to bend to their biases, which is a different thing, subtly different, but hugely important.
Yeah.
Right? That's like saying, well, the Nazis just want to legally burn a bunch of Jews in ovens. You're right. They do. They want the law to be changed so that they can do it legally. That's right. But the way he says it, right?
Yeah.
Makes it sound like the guys on the left are wrong. Go on.
All right.
Not that I don't think there is vast amounts of hypocrisy on the left.
Oh, yeah.
I totally, in Christianity, I totally think there is. This ain't part of it.
These moderates and liberal evangelicals are so disturbed by the political beliefs of their brothers and sisters, they say they don't want to be associated with them anymore. They seem to view their brothers and sisters in Christ as tax collectors and sinners. In general, we've witnessed few Christians among these critics taking the time and effort to understand the views of their conservative fellow believers.
Oh, good grief.
Or to delve into the social and political realities they might be coming from.
So this guy's just unwilling to, wow, that's interesting, because he's not willing to engage with the possibility that what the Christians on the right are doing is actually beyond the pale.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
No.
he's focused on whether it's beyond the pale within the bounds of Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not even willing to come to grips with that. It's just, well, they call themselves Christians, so you can't criticize them. You have to instead bend your efforts toward understanding them.
Right.
And making it fit.
Yeah.
No, you freaking well, I mean, and I don't know if it is hypocrisy, is that Christianity has changed over the centuries.
Yeah.
Sure.
So things that used to be considered okay in the past are not considered now. And here we are in the land of hypocrisy, because a lot of the things not considered okay now are totally okay according to the Bible, right?
Right.
So so that's a thing, but he's not talking about that. He's talking about all Christians have to stay off each other's backs. As long as there are other Christians, you got to just let them do their thing. And if you don't like it,
Right. Can't
what
speak
the
out against
problem
it.
is you don't understand it, and you need to talk to them rather than criticizing them.
I'm not sure that's exactly what he's saying.
Okay, let's listen a little more.
Let's see. Let me see. I'll blah 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 some of this, but when you actually talk to such supporters face to face, supporters of Donald Trump or Roy Moore, you often find more nuanced and reasonable political views grounded in moral principles, combined with a ready willingness to condemn the immorality and verbal carelessness of these two men. These conservatives are of a view one can appreciate philosophically. Sometimes in a nation's life, one must, for prudential reasons, cast one's lot with a morally unsavory candidate. Okay, but evangelical Christians went for Trump like in greater numbers and with more enthusiasm than I've seen them go for any candidate in a long time.
Yeah.
And
we're not talking about Trump here. We're talking about Roy Moore.
I mean, he's talking about both of them.
Okay,
but
true.
Also, Roy Moore did not lose any of the Christian right-wing vote.
Right.
If anything, they turned out
But this guy isn't complaining about or saying that Roy Moore lost any of the Christian right vote. He's saying Roy Moore should have gotten more of the Christian left vote, because the people on the Christian left are just looking at at the shit that Roy Moore actually stands for and says and going, nuh-uh, instead of hanging back and going, well, he's another Christian, and the most important thing is that Christians win. So we must try to understand him more and vote for him.
I'm not sure this guy is for Roy Moore or not.
Yeah? He's for him. He's for him in the sense that he can say a line like, you sometimes have to vote for a morally objectionable character for, how do we put it? Practical reasons, right? I mean, he is defending the votes for Roy Moore. And he's saying the loser here is Christianity. And what did Christianity not do? What did Christianity lose? Their ability to put a guy in office. Because Christians on the left didn't play along. They didn't, instead of checking to see and understanding what the other guys are doing, guys on the left. No?
I don't think
That's what I just heard.
characterizing this article correctly.
Okay.
Because when he says the hypocrisy on the left, he is actually setting up a second one that says hypocrisy on the right.
All right.
I don't think this is overall a
All right.
complaint that Roy Moore should have gotten more support.
All right, let's hear it.
Let's see.
I'm quite willing to be wrong because of stuff the guy hasn't said yet. But
Our concern
based
here
on what he said so far,
is
that was
with a cabal of noisy conservatives whom the press has apparently and unjustly appointed as spokesmen for all conservatives. This group pretends that the choice for someone like Moore represents unalloyed godliness and refuses to unmistakably criticize immorality in other leaders they admire.
Seriously? Really? Okay.
Well, I mean, a lot of conservatives do say that. I agree with him calling out the people who are doing that.
I was reacting to what he just said about the press. He's saying
the press has appointed those conservatives who think he represents godliness as the spokespeople. And they...
What are you doing, dude, when you say that Christians on the left need to, instead of fighting those people that you just complained about them being spokespeople, right? Instead of fighting them, they need to understand them more. What are you doing? You're trying to normalize that.
Yep.
All right.
And this crap that he said, we just skipped over this, right? But in the middle there, he said this crap about, if you really sit down and talk to them, then it's actually very nuanced and reasonable. Well, no, I'm sorry. There's no nuanced, reasonable justification for bigotry against an entire segment of the population just because their sexual preferences are different from yours. No, there is no fucking nuanced justification for that.
Right.
And that's a huge chunk of what this is all about. This guy is defending that. He is hand-waving into existence that there is mysterious, unknown justifications that the people on the left aren't aware of because they won't talk to those folks. Yeah. They won't talk to them because they're freaking bigots.
Well, I mean,
that's me saying something really nice about the Christian left, right?
Yeah.
Since the election last year, I have heard a nonstop flood of hand-wringing from the left saying, let's try to understand conservatives a little better. I have seen article after article analyzing what's in the minds of Trump voters. I have not seen any articles in the other direction. Right?
Right.
Let's see. All right, so here's his hypocrisy on the right section. As suggested above, some of the critiques by the left and center are hard to argue with. Hypocrisy is the most salient charge. As recently as 2011, PRRI found that only 30% of white evangelicals believed an elected official who commits an immoral act in their personal life can still behave ethically and fulfill their duties in their public and professional life. But by late 2016, when Trump was running for president, that number had risen sharply to 72%, the biggest shift of any U.S. religious group. So this was a 5-year difference with
Jeez.
do I understand this? That was a huge increase in the number of, was it evangelicals?
People who believed that if you commit a personal immoral act, you can still ethically fulfill your professional duties.
All right.
So suddenly it went from 30 to 72% of people.
Yeah, because that's all they had left. That was their candidates. It was either change your minds about that or you ain't got no candidates.
Yeah.
So I can understand the dynamics behind that. But yeah, but is that hypocrisy? They changed their minds. It's not hypocrisy to think a different thing this year than you did 5 years ago. That is not hypocrisy.
I would say it is hypocrisy if the next time a candidate that they don't like is accused, suddenly it goes back to 30%.
Right.
Sure, but I think we kind of have to wait and see, because if they've really changed their mind about that, woohoo! Well, let's have Al Franken back, right? If they've really changed their minds about that, then what's this problem?
Right. So, when serious and substantial allegations of sexual abuse of minors were made against Roy Moore, many doubled down on their support for him, which is what I was talking about like a month ago.
Yeah, there's that nuance again.
Yeah. Within days of this news story, polls indicated that not only would 57% of evangelicals continue to support him, another 37% said they were now more likely to vote for him. As some have pointed out, many conservative Christians simply don't believe the many news accounts and chalk it up to a secular liberal democratic conspiracy against Moore.
Says the guy who began this section by attacking the press for being biased, by attacking Moore for these kinds of this kind of behavior, but not attacking people they liked more when they did the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You go ahead and preach it, brother, about how those people are such hypocrites for putting this all on the press when you're doing the exact same thing.
So here's a quote from a line from a little later. When a public Christian is accused of some immorality, the honorable and moral thing to do has been to take a leave of absence until the matter is settled. This is precisely what Moore, who sees himself as a godly and moral candidate, has refused to do. But what if this is merely a political ploy to remove a candidate from running for office? And what if it's all a lie in the end? What if our godly candidate is merely being persecuted and harassed and by the powerful Obama-Clinton machine, as Moore put it? And this is further evidence that we're not in just a political battle, but a spiritual one, as Moore has repeatedly claimed.
Wait a minute.
Before you go on a rant about him saying this, he is characterizing what Moore has said. He hasn't said that's what he thinks.
All right. What does he think?
Again, this is very, very both sides, so it's hard to untangle all this.
Well, okay. The general impression I'm getting, though, is that this is a very carefully constructed argument to make his case about how he thinks things ought to be, while trying to sound even-handed.
Yeah, I think he is denouncing Roy Moore, which I approve of, but he's trying to do it cautiously by not pissing off the evangelical readers.
And he's trying to make the evangelicals the victims.
Well, in a way. Russell said that he doesn't actually believe that it was all just a made-up attack on Roy Moore, and I'm waiting till Russell gets to that bit where he says that clearly.
Well, I'm going to get to the last paragraph. Okay. And if that doesn't answer it, it was just a muddy editorial.
Okay.
The way forward is unclear, for to love one's neighbor in a democratic society means that Christians must participate in the public square to seek the common good. We cannot forsake our political duty, and that duty will lead believers in different directions. It's just that when we do engage in politics, we so often end up doing and saying things that make us sound and act like we don't care about the very values we champion. Perhaps the first step is for Christians, left and right, when they stand up to champion a cause, to stop saying, "Thus the Lord," and "Lord, I thank you that you have not made me like these other Christians," but frame their politics with, "Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner."
What? He just lost me in the the last sentence.
Brainless.
It sounds like throw more virgins on the volcano to me, right? It's you're not being Christian enough. You're not being Christian enough in the right way. Here's the right way to be more Christian. It'll solve everything.
Yeah.
Well,
unclear to me. At the end of the day, what he thought the right thing to do in that election was.
Yeah.
except to say, I'm a
Practical
sinner,
answer.
forgive me.
Yeah, that thing I was
know.
about to go on a rant about
Yeah.
just before this bit was what if it was all a lie and this was proof of a big conspiracy, right?
Right.
Well, I think it's irresponsible to read that into the record, all right? To write those words down in his article and leave it to us to interpret that, oh, that's just what Roy Moore would say, because he says it as if he's saying we should seriously consider that. Well, no, you should never consider a what if to be proof of anything, right?
Well,
I mean,
the
way
reason I skipped over the
Yeah.
next few paragraphs
Yeah.
is that he answered himself with a flood of Bible verses.
Uh-huh.
That,
right.
like turn
So
the other cheek,
I'm glad you did.
etc.
I'm glad you didn't read us all those Bible verses. So
Yeah.
we're left with the normal words that he said. Right? No, there's no human being should point at a guy like Roy Moore and say, well, what if Roy Moore is right? And it all was just a big conspiracy against him. And what if it was a big conspiracy is proof that they're all just against him? No,
Right.
what ifs are not
Sorry.
proof. Go ahead and make your freaking case that it's a made up attack. Go ahead and do that. Not claim it might be an attack, and because you claimed it, there's your proof. That was how it was phrased, in my opinion. Wow. Well, I really like this one though, Russell. This was more of a challenge than the outright, completely over the top crazy stuff. It takes more effort to pick out the nuggets of vileness from a thing that is more carefully worded.
I mean, it is completely possible that the intent that some of the motivation for writing this was good stuff that we'd agree with, but because it's so buried in in hedging.
Imagine if our show was like that. Imagine if we didn't just say whatever the heck came into our heads, right?
Right.
And kind of mean it. What if we were like all cagey about things we liked and don't like? And we are
both sides, and then we
are the open-minded commentators.
Not that the people who don't agree with us aren't open-minded, but
That's right. The march of self-doubt continues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I like that we are like this on the show.
Yeah.
We're not always right,
No.
right? But we are always serious about the positions that we take. We're not bending over backwards to be cagey about what we mean to the point where you can barely tell what it is that we mean.
Right, that we're saying.
That you have to
think people can
carefully
tell.
parse our show to figure out, wow, do you think maybe those guys are against, like they think that there's something wrong with flat earthers? I don't know. They said this one little thing. No, flat earthers are idiots.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
I would encourage our audience to go read this for themselves and try to read the parts that I glossed over.
it will be an excellent exercise.
So one more time, that's ChristianityToday.com, and the title is "The Biggest Loser in the Alabama Election." And I just posted in
I
the
think
live
our
chat.
listeners should all go read Christianity Today because sometimes they have really useful things to say.
I think they should read Christianity Today because they should understand the mindset of people.
That is true.
But not.
That is true. And this guy's article isn't, I think, an excellent thing to practice on.
Sure.
All right. So, hey, Dennis, do you have a question?
No, I got no question today.
Well, it's... I'll read this.
Read something.
Adrian writes, quick idea regarding your comments on how fair it is to pray for winning at casinos. We weren't actually talking about how I guess
We brought it up.
what are we talking about?
Yeah, my
How
question was,
fair
it's
it
kind of
is?
cheating
All right, okay.
to pray for stuff because, you know.
Russell's suggestion that the casino could pay people to counter pray
Yeah.
Yes.
seems very uncertain and expensive.
Wow, really?
Why? If you believe that prayer does stuff, then it's not uncertain at all. And expensive.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Is
sure.
that? I guess.
Pay
I guess
people to
when-
pray.
Full-time employees are not cheap. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you can pay the minimum wage, but at a certain level, you might have to pay for benefits. And,
Well, those would be undocumented prayers anyway. If you paid them too cheap, so then
And also-
everybody knows those don't count.
how many employees does it take to counter? I mean, because like if you just have one dedicated prayer, maybe they're being outnumbered by the people who want
Right.
to
Well,
win.
what if you know? I mean, other guy, could you find like you do some sort of a job placement test thing?
Yes.
And whoever scores the best on your little prayathon, you give him a big salary.
Sure.
And you have one guy, right? It's not less paperwork
Right.
that way.
It can be like Bill Murray at the beginning of Ghostbusters, except then you just end up with a hot girl in the role instead of somebody who can actually affect things through prayers.
We are talking about Vegas, so maybe that is the thing.
Yeah.
Instead, they should do what they do best and play on the odds. Rather than using the theoretical odds of win-lose, they can simply measure the actual odds, which should include the rate of God's prayer answering to prayers, to players, and adjust the gains in their casino accordingly.
Wait a minute. I know why this doesn't work.
Yeah?
Okay.
Why?
Because prayers issued in Vegas stay in Vegas.
I caught that before
Yeah.
you finished the sentence.
Yeah, I have a counter meme to throw at you, and it's Bible based, so mine wins, and that is God is everywhere.
Oh.
So he's already in Vegas. Doesn't matter if your prayers don't leave.
Yeah.
Vegas God gets him. And by the way, this could be an interesting follow-up to that on the effectiveness of intercessory prayer on healing. If you can forbid a casino and its employees and encourage players to do so, you could see if there is a statistical difference in the odds of winning in casinos. Well, that's part of the
There is
problem.
a statistical difference at winning.
That is the problem with all praying tests, because you never know what's happening outside. You can't do a controlled test, right? What is happening outside of the bounds of your experiment? People could be praying one way or the other, and it would affect your odds, and you'd have no idea.
And God could just be fucking with you because it's all
And
trying
God
to
could be
guess the
fucking
God's
with you.
whim.
Because this particular guy in your test, God had his plan for him was for him to win $1 million. Okay. Thank you, Adrian.
Yep.
How are we doing?
I think we're about out of time.
All right then. Well, I got a whole other page on the Star Trek transporter.
No,
but
God, no.
Really,
I think we've answered that.
we've kind of addressed the salient points.
Yes.
Andrea from Hungary wanted to raise the question of what about, we said something to the effect of it's just your brain and what goes on in your brain, and he I think rightly brings up, what about the other systems in your body that influence the brain?
Right.
And the answer to that is, obviously you don't do this blind. You figure out what the importance and necessity is of those systems, and you build something into your model that simulates those effects, and you're off to the races, right?
Yeah.
That's not an obstacle necessarily. Okay, well, thanks everyone for listening to our show again. We'll see you in 2018. Bye, folks.
Bye.
This is not the end of the show. We won't not be back in 2 weeks on the 3rd of January. Until then, this ain't never I Am Not the Satellite by Brian Steeksma.